We're going to be finalizing the gameplay in this lesson. So we've got a game that we've been working on where we're creating a bunch of elements that are on the page. So creating elements using JavaScript. And then these elements can be interacted with. And the objective of the game is to click the element and they're going to fall at different varying speeds. And you want to try to land them on the paddle. If you do land them on the paddle, that's going to increase your score. And the objective is just to land all of the blocks to move them onto the paddle. And they are going to be moving at different speeds. If it's a miss, then they just go right back up to the top. And the objective is once again to try to click them to land them on the paddle. And once you've landed all of the elements, the game is going to end and you have an opportunity to restart the game from start. And it resets all of the gameplay content. This lesson we're going to be finalizing the game that we've been working on, and this takes a little bit of playing through to make sure that everything is running smoothly as expected. So let's open up the game on a wider screen. We have the basic start button. We have a message that says click start button. So that tells the user what to do next. Clicking the start button, we've got the game in play. So we've got a bunch of elements at the top. So maybe we need a message to the user as to what to do with these elements. So we'll just write a message to the user when we start the game. Instead of saying game in play, let's add a message. So now let's try that again. So that gives the user more context into what to expect from the game. So we click these, we see them dropping down. Let's also select and create a random speed for each one of these elements that when we drop it down, so they're not all dropping at the same speed. So as we're creating the elements, we can just create a random speed just where we've got the element, and within the element itself, we can create a speed value. And using the math floor, do a math random, and then multiply that by whatever we want as the max speed. So maybe we want it to be 10, and then we'll add 5 to it. So that will give us a speed value that we can do per element. And then going to where we're moving it, so as we're dropping the elements, when they do get clicked and they do get the active class, we can update the speeds differently for the different elements. So we're moving it, and instead of moving it at the game speed, we're going to take the element speed value. So these will be different speeds that they're going to be dropping at. So it's going to make it for a little bit more of an interesting gameplay, that the user doesn't actually know what speed that they're going to be expecting the different elements to be moving at. And as we're clicking them, we see that they are dropping at different speeds. So it creates another element and another challenge to the game. So let's also have a score. So instead of adding in the miss, we'll update this and set the score value. So if they did get a hit, or if they got a miss, then we'll output that message value. So we'll update the color value. So on a hit, we're going to go green on a hit, and we'll go red on the miss. And we don't have to update the value because that's already being set in there. And instead of setting up the positions, we can set these values to be whatever the current score is. So within the text content, so we'll add this in and just output it within the rounded brackets. So it will say either hit or miss, and we'll uppercase them. And then let's output the game score object value. So game score, and then this is whatever we've got for the score. So setting up the score within the text area. So that will make it more visible. And whenever we do have a hit, we'll take the game score and we'll increment it by 1. So let's try that again. So we'll drop all of the elements. And now it's going green if it's a hit and red if it's a miss. Let's also update the font size. So make this a little bit bigger so it stands out a little bit more. And so now we're going to 2 lines. So maybe we want for these instructions, click the boxes, hit the paddle. So we'll make the information screen a little bit smaller as we're limited on the amount of space that we have there on the output. And we need to be able to track a way to end the game. So also let's decrease while we're testing. We'll decrease the number of boxes, so just have the 1 box. So what we want to do is we want this box to hit. And once it hits, we don't have any more boxes on the screen, so we want to be able to end the game. And we know that once we've scored all of the number of boxes, so whatever we've got within the num, that means it's game over and we want to stop the gameplay. So let's go back into where we're doing the scoring. And once we've got the score, then within here we can also get the game over message. So we'll do a condition to check to see if the game number is equal to, or if it's greater than the game score. And if it is, and actually this should be reversed, so equal to, or if it's greater than, or actually it should be if the game score is greater than or equal to the game number, then we know that the game is over. And we might want to output a special message there for the game over. And we're going to stop the gameplay. So where we have the game object, we're going to cancel the animation frame. So we'll set the gameplay to stop. So gameplay, and set that to be false. And we'll also show the start button again. So that will give the player an option to reset and restart the game. So once we've completed the game, we're going to set the game button to the start button once again. And we'll update what the start button says. So it's within the button one start. And we'll just say that restart. So we'll update the content of it. So this is where we're running the game over. And then whatever we need to do for the game over to handle the game over. So let's set the button to display as block. And then the button one text content, I'm going to set that to restart. So we need to just hit the 1. We did get the 1 restart there. And I also want to set the button as a block. So by default, so display the button as a block. And then we'll do a margin auto to center the button. So that way we can hide and show it. So there we've got our restart. And we want a way to restart the game. So we need to reset some of the values within the game. So we need to reset the game score. So set that to be 0 in order for it to work once again. And then we also need to reposition all of the elements. So we need to set them back up on the screen. So what we want to do is we want to run the init once again. And that will reinitiate all of the elements onto the page. And we can actually remove the init from the window loader. And that way we can launch it within the start of the game. And that will give us the ability to have a relaunch and a restart of the game. And play through it a few times to make sure that there's no bugs in the game. And we can continuously go to restart it. We should also reset the color of the message area. So when the game is over, I'm going to set the color of the message area. And we'll set it to be black. And I'll output this message first. And what we'll do is we'll update the message to just say game over. So we can add to the message text content or update the inner HTML, and we'll add to it with a div that's going to say game over. And you can customize this as needed in order to get your content to display. So now we've got the game over, we've got the score, restart. So hit the button to get the paddle and play through it a few times just to make sure that the game is working as expected. And then you can make some adjustments as to the number of elements that are on the screen. So now we've got all of the original elements back, and they can be clicked, and we want to land it on the paddle. So go ahead and try it out, customize it, and you can go through it, and as you debug it, there's updates that you can make in order to improve the gameplay.